Said to the players after the initial celebration, we'll meet at 4 o'clock. I guess it would have been yesterday. Get ready to win a national championship. Kind of what goes into that meeting?
7 minutes in length, and really just outlining the schedule for this week. I think taking out any unknowns from them as far as what's coming, how we were going to do today, tomorrow, travel day, what that looks like. We'll practice when we get there, and then Thursday is a busy day, if you will. Practice at the stadium, kind of fun day. Media, team picture in front of the statue. Get them ready to expect all that. Get them aligned for Friday, which will be the day before the game, what we're going to do there. And, get them in a regular routine for a 6 p.m. game on Saturday night. So it's basically just outlining the week, so that, and then a few logistical things so they could put all that out of their mind and get back to what's made us our team, and just being really good at preparing for the baseball part of it. So that's really all it was. We started at 4, we were done by 4:07.
You said, at different points, it's not really about motivation at this point. It's about just doing what you've been doing all season.
Yeah.
So nothing really changes just because you're dancing to another round. It's the same
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Not at all. It's the beauty of baseball, and we start talking about this in September when you talk about the fundamentals of fielding a ground ball in a 4-on-1 skill instruction session on individual defense. The same fundamentals that'll make that player the same ones that make them in Omaha. And so it's this thought around baseball, and winning baseball doesn't really change. The people that play the game sometimes change, and we want to be really good in our mental game and our strengths so that we stay in character and execute our process of winning, which this team's been very good and very consistent at. And it's just kind of leaning into, or what I would say doubling down on, what makes us us is really the plan and blueprint for playing well in Omaha.
When Chase is throwing the ball like that at the end of the game, just, what does that do for you guys? I guess?
It was electric. Holy cow. I was kind of, obviously you're in the moment of, we're 4 outs away, then 3 outs away, then 2 outs away. I mean, that's just human nature. But I actually was able to peel back from that for a second and go the vision of recruiting him here, that's what it was. And to see him, and I thought he used the previous week really well, and had a really good week leading into it. Thought his demeanor going into this weekend was great, and I thought it was really cool that he was the one that got to finish that.
What's a couple of? Go ahead.
Does facing a team like Arkansas in the first game change the math in terms of how you approach the pitching heading into that one, or just given their caliber, their talent, you guys obviously know how good they are?
Oh yeah, they're the most talented team in the country. There's no question about that, and that was addressed when we played them the first time. And I think this is the postseason. I think again, you just kind of go back to how we approach every game as like a postseason game. I think that really helps us. We're not there yet as far as laying out the plan of who's going to start or where we're going to go with that at this point. And what that means for game 2, because you're guaranteed 2. That's a good thing with the day off in between. And then you're back in that kind of regional format. And, I think take a lot of pride in setting things up for tournament success. And, we'll do that. And we are in the midst of doing that, so to speak. It's a great opponent. This whole entire season, if we were going to get where we wanted to go, there was no question in my mind whether we would play them or not. That's what, I felt like this was inevitable, whether it was going to be game 1 or the finals. So just do it in game 1.
Even besides the opponent, how important is it to win that game 1 to set yourself up for the rest of the tournament?
Well, the 2 times I've been in the finals, we've lost one of the first 2 games. So to me, it's not a death sentence if you don't. I would love to try the deal through the winner's bracket one time just to see how it feels. That's just, I don't feel that way. The postseason baseball is awesome. Whether you're in the winner's bracket, the loser's bracket, Omaha is awesome. And you just take the one in front of you. And, our team's capable of winning 3 and losing 1. losing 1 and winning 4. Like, I mean, played all 8 that you could possibly play twice. So, feel like I have a pretty good gamut of how the flow of the tournament goes. It really doesn't get past one game for me, and super boring. But there's a method to that.
You play out all the scenarios and how you can imagine the pitching?
Oh, for sure. I think that's just, you stay in the moment, you play the game in front of you. That's what I asked the players to do. Like, the task offensively was like play the inning in front of you on Sunday night. Like, that's it. Don't get ahead of what this means or whatnot. And I think there's just the ability to stay in the moment, be present, is huge. You know, I'm the one person that can and needs to think ahead to give us the best chance of success, so we never get behind the game. And there's a lot of things that go into that. I haven't started like re-scouting Arkansas. Like, I'll look at them like we've never played them before, and it's just back to my theory that I always talk to you guys about, of like, guys change game to game, you know, let alone whatever we played them 4 weeks ago. I've lost count or track. So, and then, you know, now we know who else is on our side of the bracket. Murray State, UCLA. I got some good advice a long time ago from another coach that's won a championship that's been there several times. It's like, don't even worry about the other side of the bracket until you have to. And I can say, like, twice, that's how we've approached it. I did go to one game last time on the other side when Florida was playing and was 2-0, because we hadn't played them in the regular season, just to kind of lay eyes on them. And I did the same thing with Coastal Carolina and was playing TCU, I think, on the other side, just to, like, and it's cool to be in that ballpark, and, you know, if you're there that deep, it means you're still playing and all that. But we'll just kind of focus on Arkansas, and then you have the day off after the first one regardless, which is really helpful. Now you have to go in with a pretty good foundation, which we will. The next few days are really busy in regards to, you know, getting prepared for our side of the bracket. But, yeah, and then it helps you, you know, get out ahead of those
So
decisions.
when you look at the dates and you look at the gaps between games and you play the scenarios, okay, if we lose this one, we have to work away.
Yeah.
Can you see?
Oh, yeah, there's no more gaps. There's one good day. If you lose a game, you have one day off on our side. Like, just with them condensing it down and, you know, playing like the 2 1-1 games on the same day, like, really shrinks, you know, the off day opportunity. If you're on the Saturday side, where do you get the benefit? You get the benefit from Super Regional to the start of the World Series, but then you don't have it, you know, during the World Series. And that's why, like, you know, Paul throwing on 4 days rest there last time was legendary performance. Riley throwing 5 times in the 8 games, legendary performance. Like, these guys go down as legends for, they had great careers here, but what they did there. You know, so you have to kind of prepare for those things. And obviously, no different than a regional, the best path is to win the first 2 like we did here. And, you know, but there's 4 good teams on that side, like, you know, and, you know, it's not just Arkansas. You know, I've played against John Savage as much as I've played against any coach in college baseball. The guys, I think it's their 4th trip to Omaha, and he's won a national title, and that's not by accident. And they have really good players, you know, really good position players this year. And then Murray State, I watched most of the game last night, just more as a college baseball fan. But they can hit, like, they can really hit. And, you know, reminded of my 2015 team at Nevada, which I felt like was capable of going to Omaha, and knew how good that team was. And that's what I felt like I was watching. And so it's a great opponent there, too.
Do you agree with some that said that maybe you should reseed?
Yeah, again, like, it's one of those things I don't have any control over. I believe they used to do that, didn't they, Bill? Did they used to reseed the College World Series? It's been a while.
A long time.
Yeah.
Maybe before the 80s. Yeah.
Okay.
Not since Skip's been here.
Okay. All right. Well, then maybe I was off on that. Yeah. Did they used to reseed the Super Regionals? Was that a thing? Okay. All right. Maybe I imagined that.
Is there anything you learned from your first trip to Omaha, like the travel, the days off, anything that you changed?
I've always taken basically a notebook with everything that could happen, and I think the benefit of being in the loser's bracket and playing 8 games twice, it gives you a full experience, if you will. And I think in terms of adjusting, just making sure that with all the ancillary things, with opening ceremonies, the practice day, the media, like I want them to like lean into that, like, and enjoy that. Otherwise, you can lose sense of like, why did we put all this work in, and then have the maturity to flip the switch to preparation, execution. And I think that's why laying the schedule out for them is really important, so they know to delineate those times and those opportunities. I was talking to Skip this morning about like he would have like designated times for them with their families and then move on, and we haven't necessarily done it that way. It's more like, hey, we have baseball and then we don't have baseball. You're kind of clear to do this, but I liked that.
Anything you did wrong? First trip, maybe?
Good question. In 23 here, it felt like, again, on this side of the bracket and falling into the losers bracket, we were playing every single day. So, I mean, I'm sure there was nothing like really jumped out at me that I felt like we need to adjust for this trip. You know, in 21 we were there. It was COVID. It was a little different. Things were shut down a little bit more, or coming off of COVID. There was no opening ceremonies. I remember thinking we lost a really tough game to Vanderbilt, and how we approached Sunday. You know, that with, you know, when we trained and try to get reset for the game against Stanford, and Stanford beat us up pretty good, which they were a tough matchup for our team that year. I didn't really take it as anything more than that.
Right.
But I remember feeling like I would have used Sunday like a little bit differently, and took that into the last trip, and very mindful of just try to keep the team right. I think maybe something I've learned is when you lose a game, like you have to get them reset, because I've seen teams lose games and not recover, and then it's over. And we talked about that with that team going into the postseason, like pre-regionals and I've talked about it with this team, like you lose a game and then you press or you panic or you just get outside yourself for 3 innings and the season's over. Like, let's be the team that is out in front of that before it even happens.
It's an entirely new crop of teams in the college
Yeah.
series this year. What do you take away from that?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I actually, I knew the Duke Murray State winner wasn't there last year, but I actually went down and I was like, wow, it's all different teams. And then from 22 to 23, I believe Stanford was the only repeat team. So I talked to our team then that if you just do this right, you're going to create a massive advantage for yourselves. And, you know, there's some similarities with that. You know, but it's 8 really good teams. You know, I mean, just kind of going through it. And Oregon State lost their first game of the regionals and came back and won 4 in a row. And then they were in a deciding game 3 and won. You know, let's see, Louisville. You know, they won the regional at Vanderbilt, hat tip there, and then got to a game 3 and won a 1-run game. So they're battle tested. Coastal I don't think they've lost in like 2 months. You know, so they're rolling. You know, Arizona, and I used this example with our team on Sunday in our pregame meeting of, hey man, it wasn't even 48 hours ago. They lost 18-2, and now they're going to Omaha. So we have to be super locked in to today. Like, let's get locked into today and not get behind that. So what an impressive win for Arizona. And then, you know, Murray State, I mean, just they earned it, man. They lost the first one too. UCLA's playing great. I think they've swept through this thing, and then Arkansas has swept through it, and we obviously know how good they are. So I think it does just come down to baseball and being in tune with what we do.
We were just talking to Jake about Josh and said, you know, that there's probably hadn't been a 3-pitch strikeout that's gotten a standing ovation like he did in that situation. How much do you lean on him? Because he was, you know, obviously
a huge part of it.
Everyday
Yeah.
contributor
Yep.
2 years ago,
Yeah.
especially on a week like this off the field. How much do you want to lean on a guy like that?
Well, I think there's 8 of them that were there. He played more than anybody of that group. I think he's just so solid in every situation that it's natural for guys to like maybe talk to him or pick his brain anyways. And I still don't know that his heartbeat ever gets above 58 with anything, and that's part of his quality as a player. So he's approachable, and I haven't gone like, hey man, you got to make sure these guys are dialed in. I don't feel that way at all. I think all 8 of the players and the couple that were on the staff and myself, like, we can just move in the right way and address the things that we need to address that can be out in front or help everybody with it, and then be ourselves. And that's really the most important thing, is just to everybody just stay with what got us to this point.
You have 4 teams that have gotten to Omaha. How does this one sort of stand out as unique among the 4?
It's a good question. I don't know if this is a quality. I just felt like regardless if we won 2 games or not, like, these guys deserve to go and deserve to play. And that's just a credit to how they've operated on a daily basis. You know, the fall didn't get long for them, like 6 weeks into the fall, and they were staying with it and improving. And some of them, it might have been like, hey, I got to keep working to, improve my role on the team. That's fine, but they were great with the fall. Everybody did what they were supposed to do over that little winter break that we have. They came back early collectively. Everybody was in shape. We had a great preseason training. I thought we've just been very consistent. Had the one tough weekend at Auburn where Auburn played well, and they made it hard on us, and they were obviously a great team this year, number 4 national seed. But we've been pretty consistent, and whether we've played our best or not, we've been able to find ways to win. And they're into it together. If there's a guy, like Josh, since you brought up, like, who hasn't played as much as maybe he has done at other times, but has been ready every time I've called his number. I mean, like, that's just one example of a million examples of guys handling themselves the right way. If I said it reminded me of one of those teams, it would remind me of more one of the 2 Arizona teams than the 23 team, just in terms of how we won a little bit. I will say this one is unique, where probably more than any of them, that's 2 starters that the team feels like we're winning when they're on the mound. I would say that's maybe the carrying tool. I would say multiple options out of the bullpen is a common thread, between the teams that get there, and including this one. And then offensively, I think this one, when it has played its best, is really as good as any of them, even though it's a little bit different.
How much value is there for a baseball program to have the guys come in every day and feel like they can express themselves and be who they want to be individually? And
Yeah.
How do you guys as a staff just help sort of foster that?
Good question. I think it's part of how we do it. I don't think you can get anybody bought into a team culture, a team concept, unless they have the freedom to be themselves within that team culture and team concept. I grew up in a very, strict, that's not the way that it was, house. My dad was a coach. Evolving, my job is to get the best out of my players and help take the talent and make it a team. And over my time, I've just learned that's a better way to do it. If you have to force somebody into something that you think's right and their buy-in's not as strong, you don't really have anything. You may have the appearance of something, but in substance, you don't have it. So I've just chosen not to do it that way. But our uniforms better look like LSU's uniforms have forever. It's not my fault if they don't, I promise you. I want every time everybody turns on the TV, that's the Tigers. You know what I mean? And there's no question about that. So those things, they have to be solid and to honor the past and the place. But within that, this is this team. And these guys are these guys. And, I want them to feel like they can just be themselves.
That was Kate's decision on Saturday, wear the dark purple in the sun.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I actually thought about raising that to him, and I was like, no. I'm good with Kate Anderson. Whatever Kate Anderson decides, I'm good with it. Yeah.
What's some of the routines you use when you make out your batting order? Do you figure it out at the same time, or when you do make some changes, do you try to tell the player the night before, or does it matter?
Sometimes, I texted Josh Friday evening that he was going to play, and I was still sorting through how I was going to do the order, so I didn't say, hey, you're going to bat leadoff, but I did give him a heads up. He would have been fine had I not. He just walked in and saw the lineup for the first time, but I wanted to give him a heads up. If we're doing something drastically different, the Monday game against Little Rock, I moved Jared down. I talked with him about it. This is what I'm thinking. This is why. What are your thoughts on it? And that's kind of what I landed on. So sometimes in certain scenarios, I feel like if it's going to help the player play better, like I'll discuss it with them. And then sometimes it's like, hey, I've looked at this thing. This is what we need to do, and this is what we're gonna do. And I always come back to this with you guys, and hate to repeat myself, but they're just not pro players, and I don't know that there's a big difference if I hit second or if I hit sixth. In terms of, it's not as important as what they do to get themselves ready to play well when they're in there or hit well. So I don't think it's not that old school Major League Baseball 162 game thought that they all have to hit in the same order. Sometimes, and we did this early, like sometimes when you get that flow and it's rolling and you don't have to think about it, it's great. That's just not where we were, and not that it was bad or terrible, but the job now is to maximize whatever we can to give ourselves the best chance of win.
How have you seen the bullpen develop into more Omaha ready, where guys are, like Cooper, for example, gives you 3 innings, extends
Yeah.
beyond what he has all year?
Yeah. Well, we brought him here to be a star. Like, I was fully convinced, like, this is going to be a great pitcher for us. And we got lucky. There was a coaching movement thing. And like I said the other night, he didn't sign a scholarship. So he was available to be recruited. And we recruited him, and thank goodness we got him. And, there's a transition level from, let's say, high school baseball in Texas to what this is. We have a great offense. So he got challenged a lot in the fall. And then you still believed in the makeup, the left-handed, the athlete. I mean, he's incredibly smart. He's very tough-minded, great character. It was just a matter of continuing to get him out there, and like good outing at South Carolina the last weekend of the regular season. I felt like was a precursor to like, hey, we're really moving in a positive direction. And I think he's had a really good season. Statistically, I looked up on the board and I was like, wow. I mean, now that I think back, like, yeah, he's had a great season, and it's really no surprise he was in there. And that was the game. The 0 in the 6th inning that he came in and got, and then set the table. I think we scored 6 in the top of the 7th. That 0 was the game. That was a huge deal.
You're juggling a lot right now. How's the transfer portal going?
It's going good. Yeah, it's going fine. There's things that you cannot control, and I still believe I still can't believe that story I was joking about the other night, where we got penalized for going and playing for the national championship, and somebody went on a visit while we were playing and decided not to take their visit here when it was going to be like 3 days later. But that's how it goes. I think since I've been here, there's been a direct correlation. If you're not playing, you have a little bit of an advantage. We're just going to stay on top of it. And yesterday was a lot of work. Today we had some guys in for visits this weekend, which was great. Like, if you were sitting in the stands there on Sunday night and you don't want to play in that and don't want to come here, it's probably not the right place for you. If you're picking something for a different reason, then it's probably not for you. But we got some positive feedback. But the guys that we want, everybody wants, and so there's a lot to it. And I think it's just staying present, focused, and I think bringing Josh Simpson back was key, because having both Joshes on top of it is allowing me to do what I've needed to do with the team and in that arena. And, I'll just, like the recruits, it would be one of those where I would have been more present with them nonstop on their visit if we weren't trying to go to Omaha. But if you're not trying to go to Omaha, like, what are we doing this for anyways? So I think we had the right guys in, and there's a good feel for that.
How has the house settlement sort of changed the way you view next year's roster?
I haven't really thought about it a ton, to be perfectly honest with you. In the immediate, in the back scope, yes, I think there's way less margin for error with mistakes. Your staff's ability to evaluate really becomes more critical. And I've always felt this way anyways. Like, when you show up at a program, you find out how good a coach you are. The longer you're there, you find out what kind of recruiter you are. Now, this is kind of a unique dynamic to it, because I really still don't have a full answer on scholarships, rules. Like, and what I mean is, like, it's supposed to be 34 players, but like, you might be able to designate some guys. So does that mean you can have unlimited players? Does it mean you can have 40? like there's still some questions that haven't really been answered, you know. So we're thinking about it, but I haven't gone like, okay, I'm changing what I'm doing tomorrow recruiting because of that.
Are you allowed to talk about any of the transfers or any of the junior college transfers?
I just don't want to,
Okay.
and not we're excited about them. I just don't want to because the focus to me should be on our team in the College World Series. Yeah.
Any of the guys that have entered.
Well, I will enthusiastically at a more appropriate time.
Have any of the guys that have entered the portal from your team,
Mm-hmm.
were you thinking of maybe one or two of them on the travel roster to Omaha?
No,
Okay.
no. I think they had decided they didn't feel like they could play here, and that's okay. You know, like everybody makes decisions for their own reasons, and there wasn't one of them that I said, "Hey, you need to leave." I can tell you that. They just don't think they felt like it was the right opportunity for themselves individually.
Some
And-
of them could have had an opportunity next year or the year after.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, we're going to play the best player all the time, and they can't say we're not playing freshmen because pretty good freshmen in left field, pretty good freshmen winning the regional, pretty good freshmen behind the plate, you know, pretty good freshman arms coming out of the bullpen. So more than anybody, kind of like we talked about in the press conference the other night. It's just you know, everybody makes a decision initially for a reason, and then sometimes those reasons change after they're at a place. And like you just want everybody to be in the right spot. I just want everybody to be in the right spot.
And real quick, like a kid enters the portal, they can look around, they can come back to your team, right?
Yeah, that's a very unique circumstance,
Yeah.
though. My line with that is we're not going to negotiate with terrorists, so to speak. But there has been one exception to that in my time here, and the player ended up moving along anyways. But yeah, it's just not. It's one of those things you cannot play for me and not be all bought into what's happening here. And if you're doing that, it's 1 foot out. It's like the Navy SEALs. Like if somebody thinks about quitting the Navy SEALs, they're eventually going to quit. That's just kind of how I look at it.
So, like, but technically though, if you enter the portal and you haven't decided you're going to a new school yet, could you play?
Yes.
You could.
Yeah.
But that would definitely
Yeah, that
be not all
that
in.
yeah, that wouldn't work. I
That's
mean,
amazing.
yeah. I mean, we have kind of one exception right now where McPaul is in the portal. He's going to travel to Omaha with us and be with us. He's not going to be on the 27-man roster for the College World Series. Dude's everything right about our program in college baseball, and I made a personal decision that if this is what he felt like was best but wanted to stay with us through this, that I was okay with that. And his
27
teammates are okay with that.
So 27-man roster, but you can take more than.
Yeah, I
27?
believe we're taking 32 of the players. If I feel like it's 32 of the players.
Even some of the injured guys 2 years ago, like Jaden Newton was there, and
All of them were there, yeah.
they are all there.
Yep.
The
Is there a limit on
redshirt
that? Like,
guys.
is 32 the limit? Or?
No, it's like you can have like 45 or in the
Okay.
dugout,
Yeah.
and it actually works out perfectly. The number of those players with who we need for like our support staff and everything, like the number comes out actually perfectly. Yeah, that was a funny story from 23. Like all those other guys, like they snuck down into the cages and threw their uniform on and ran out in the dog pile when we won. That was
So they weren't dressed up, but they were dressed.
exactly. They got dressed out for the dog pile.
Coach,
Didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
did you have
No.
with Danny, we've actually about him a lot this year.
Yeah.
Just his recruitment. You called him within like 5 minutes. He was in the
Yeah.
portal. How did you like discover him though?
Yeah, I had somebody I trust out there had told me, like, hey, if this dude goes in the portal, like, he should play for you. Like, and this was like 5 months ago, or and it was like, okay, sweet. And then I remembered the conversation, and then I literally was just looking on my phone, and I saw his name pop up, and I just called that person. I'm like, well, I guess he's in the portal. Can I have his phone number? And then just called him. And what a great guy for this team. I've mentioned that a lot with Luis. Like, we had to have the right person behind the plate, and his special character. I think Danny added a lot to the guys on this team. Like, different approach to things than maybe some of them were used to, but it's exactly what our team needed. And he's meant far more than being, in my opinion, the best defensive second baseman in the country, and a 335 hitter and 12 homers and RBIs and clutch hits. He's meant a lot more to our team than just the statistics.
What do you mean, if you don't mind sharing about it, like a different approach?
Just the right edge. Like he was here to get after it and to, be a big time contributor for us. And he's going to go to pro baseball. And I don't know, the Cleveland Guardians are going to be really happy, when they have Danny Dickinson. It's a 1-year thing, and it's like the old, whatever, one and done type deal. And in basketball, but it's a different version of it in baseball. But that's kind of how it goes in our league. I mean, the team we're playing, it's like 7 or 8 transfers in the lineup, and it's big fast people beat little fast people. Old and strong is better than young and weak. And he's just the person part of him is awesome. It's awesome.
You've talked about how you've known Derek since 7th grade. How big of an aspect of his brother or his dad in terms of his development?
Yeah, it's huge. It was a big part of the allure too. I mean, I want to say I started recruiting him during COVID, like really started, and it was only Zoom calls because you couldn't visit campuses. And I mean, his whole family huddled around the table. Brother's a player, asking me hitting questions. Dad's talking about this is what we do, and then you go and you watch him play, and it's just like the feel for the game was just like so advanced. And I was laughing the other night, like my dad was here and on the field, and him and Rick Curiel are hugging each other, and I'm like, this is unbelievable. And I was like, 5.5 years later, like we've been waiting for this a long time. So now we're going to Omaha together. It's pretty cool.
I think 2 years ago you had a chance to get some guys in the game that are still on the team, like Ethan had a hit. I think he got to play.
Mhm.
A couple other guys as well.
Jared, yeah.
Jared, how does that experience of being there and actually being on the field maybe help?
It helps, yeah. And I mean, in some of that context, like we pinch hit Jared against Cade Fisher in the finals in game 1 in a tie game with a runner in scoring position. So that was no charity, type A-B, so to speak. Yeah, the guys work, and we ended up in a weird game in that game too. And, I love that team, and it's like, hey, it was a small win, but it was a big win to all those guys. Every guy on the 27-man roster played in that College World Series. Like, I thought that was pretty cool. And it doesn't always go like that. I would bet 95% of the time it doesn't go like that. But, I mean, I thought Ethan Fry could become who Ethan Fry is now. So I wanted him to stand in the batter's box there. Ben Napolt was a key member of that team, in playing defense. And when Tommy was hurt and all that, it was good to get him in the game, Sam Dutton, Bryce Collins, like those guys were great. They were great. So I would have preferred it not to be in a 24-4 bashing, but it was good that everybody played, and we don't ever go into it planning on that. That's even remotely a possibility.
Ben, since he's on the staff now, like, is he almost like a de facto extra, like, veteran player in terms of like
He's
his
a
experience in Omaha?
Graduate coach. I think it can help. He's really close to their age, obviously. Played with 12 of them last year. I think players have a different filter in talking to him, which I think it can really help, where he can go like, hey, I've been on both sides of this thing now. Like, this is not what I thought it was, from your side. So, like, maybe look at it this way. He's been very beneficial in that. He throws good BP, helps me with some pitcher report stuff ahead of it. Like I gave him a random deal. We have this board that we do our scouting on, and we have it like super dialed in. Like we got lines on it and everything. And so before the game Sunday, I was like, hey, if we win, all right, I want you in here immediately after, and I want you to take the other side of the board, and I want to make it exactly like this side of the board. And then we're going to bus it to Omaha so we don't have to change out, the stuff all the time. Because in 23, I remember like having to take a picture on my phone, and we're wiping off Tennessee and then putting Wake Forest up and wiping it off and putting Florida. I was like, I want our board, our two-sided board with us. So, yeah. So he did it. So I walked in. So it's like 2:15 a.m. on Monday morning, and he's putting the lines up, and it was good. Yeah. All right, guys.
Tell the
Thanks, Jay.
compliance officers about the guys jumping in the dog pile. The guys-
Yeah, no, I mean, as a matter of fact, they didn't have it when they announced the team. They didn't announce them, and so I was like staring at them. They're all just standing there. I'm like, get up here on the stage, let's go. Nobody said anything to me about it. So yeah.